Welcome to Devotions Before Dawn. My name is Matt, and together we'll be sharing devotions every morning, Monday through Friday, one chapter a day until we've gotten through the entire Bible. That's 1,189 devotionals over the next 4.5 years. I look forward to this journey of growth with you, so make sure you're subscribed. Now let's get started. We all experience moments where our world changes. That phone call comes in, and you receive that bad news. You get that difficult diagnosis. You have challenges that you didn't foresee coming, and life can get difficult. What do we do when our world changes? Because when the world changes, there will be challenges. What's important to remember? God is gracious, and His covenant relationship with you still remains. Let's dive into Genesis chapter 9. This is after the flood, Genesis 9, verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons. So let's stop right there. Even after the heart of man turning against God, getting involved in terrible, perverse wickedness in the face of God, even after having to wipe them out because the thoughts of their hearts were evil continually, and all that they were doing with demonic spirits and terrible things, God still blesses mankind. God blessed Noah and his sons. And you may feel like you have things in your past and you say, nah, God can't bless me anymore. He absolutely can bless you. He can bless you no matter what's in your past. There's always the opportunity for a new start. So we're only a few words in, but let's continue reading. God said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth." Now this has been a command of God since Genesis chapter 1. From the very beginning, be fruitful and multiply was the very first command of God. To fill the earth, to spread out across the surface of the entire earth. And we're going to see that challenged in Genesis chapter 10. God's desire is for life on life on life on life. He wants the earth to be so full of life, of husbands and wives and children's laughing and living and walking with Him. And if you've ever flown on a plane, you see how much of the earth is empty. There's plenty for all of us out there. There is plenty for humanity to continue to increase in number and be fruitful. The problem is human corruption. People are not starving or malnourished on the earth today because of a lack of resources. There are plenty of fruit trees and fields where crops can be grown. There are plenty of animals that can be raised and hunted and fish to be taken from the oceans and from the rivers and even cultivated so we can keep reproducing fish and animals and seeds and plants and trees and crops. There's plenty. The problem is human corruption. The problem is that there's evil in the heart of man. And man forms governments, and those governments turn corrupt, and they withhold from the people, and they hoard from themselves. The problem is not in the earth that God has given us. We should look to continue to be fruitful and multiply and spread out across the earth. And in chapter 10, we're going to see man challenging that command of God. But God blessed Noah, God blessed his sons, He will bless you. Even if there's wickedness in the past, God wants to bless in the future, and there's plenty for us here if we'll just stretch out and go out and get it. Now we're going to see the world starts changing in verse 2. The fear and dread of you will fall on all beasts of the earth, and on birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are all given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I have given the green plants, now I give you everything. So we see a lot about humanity and our experience and the nature of our relationship with God and the world around us right here. Before the flood, apparently the dread was not in the heart of beasts and animals. They were not afraid of human beings. Perhaps that's how it was easy to get them on the ark, and we know God moved them towards the ark. And I always have to chuckle at Christians who say, yeah, God created with His spoken word, but it seems impossible that all these animals would get on a huge ark. I mean, that doesn't seem realistic. Well, if God can create with a spoken word, can He direct animals onto a boat? I believe He can. But here we see the world is changing. The dread of you will fall on the animals of the earth, the birds and the beasts and the creatures that move along the ground, the fish of the sea. There's going to be this fear against mankind in their hearts. So the world is changing. And we're going to see Noah make a catastrophic mistake here in a few verses. But I believe much of it is because the world had changed. How did God react when Noah makes this huge mistake? How did the people around him react when Noah failed? We're going to get there in a few verses. Let's read verse 3. Everything that moves about you will be food. Just as I have given the green plants, now I give you everything. So there's nothing wrong with eating meat. If you want to be a vegetarian, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's not judge one another for what we eat or do not eat. Just for a little fun, put your favorite food in the comments below. Let's continue reading. Verse 4. Mine might be carne asada burritos, maybe. That's what I feel like right now anyway. Verse 4. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal and every human being too. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. God is saying the life of man is precious, that the blood mankind sheds is precious. And we know that the one who would shed his blood for us, Jesus Christ, his blood saves us. That blood was precious. And God is setting aside this idea of human blood as precious and human life, more importantly, as very precious in his sight, very valuable. Verse 6, whoever sheds human blood, by humans their blood shall be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. You and I are made in the image of God. We were given free will and dominion over the earth. We were given the ability to create and be creative like God is creative. So we create art, we create music, we build buildings, we build bridges over rivers and canyons. We can visualize things and then go out and create them. We were created much like God. And I don't know how much that is physically, how much that is mentally, how much that is spiritually, but there's a lot about humankind that reflects the goodness and the glory, the creativity, the power, and the dominion that God also possesses. Verse 7, as for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. We're seeing this over and over and over again in the book of Genesis. Be fruitful, have children, have grandchildren, increase in number, spread out or multiply across the earth. God desires for life to give life, to bring more life into this existence. That is the heart of God. He loves children. He loves grandchildren. He wants to continue to pour out his blessings on humanity. Yet nowadays we see a lot of people living in fear. What if the asteroid hits the planet? What if the earth slowly grinds to a halt? What if we can't afford to feed everybody anymore? This is where we need to trust God. God said, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, spread out across the surface of the earth. We're not really doing that, actually. Much of the earth is utterly and completely empty. And as I keep teasing, we're going to talk about that in chapter 10. God said to Noah, verse 8, and his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on the earth, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all of life be destroyed by the waters of a flood, and never again will there be a flood that destroys the entire earth. It's important to note that God is doing the establishing. This is God's covenant promise to mankind. And the sign we know is going to be a rainbow, but this is all the work of God. Just like salvation is the work of God. He established the covenant of salvation through Christ Jesus on that cross. He established it, and we get to enter that covenant. It's the great and gracious, glorious work of God. Verse 12, and God said, this is a sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Now, it's an utter shame that the rainbow has been hijacked as a sign of something else. of the LGBTQ community, of homosexuality, and it is the work of the enemy to take what God has done and twist it and steal it and send us down a different road because of it. And that road is the road that leads to destruction. And broad is that road. Narrow is the way that finds life. But we see here the rainbow was first, and for my entire childhood and much of my adulthood, when I saw a rainbow, I immediately thought of the book of Genesis. Now when we see a rainbow, we often think of something very different. It is cultural appropriation at its absolute worst. They've appropriated it, but we know that the rainbow is the sign of God's covenant between God and mankind. Verse 14, whenever I bring clouds over the earth, and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you, and between all living creatures of every kind. Never again will waters become a flood and destroy all of life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of all kinds on the earth. Just like I wear a wedding ring, and that ring reminds me that I am fully committed till death do us part. Now, I don't ever forget that, but it's a symbol, it's a sign. It's a sign of the covenant vows that I swore. That rainbow is a sign of the covenant vows between God and mankind. Just so you know, my wedding ring is a rubber ring that I got from Amazon, $7. It was actually $7 for 5 of them, so you do the math on that. But lifting weights and stuff, that white gold ring that I had kept scratching and pinching, so I put it away in a safe place, and now I wear this cheap Amazon one because it's not about how much it cost. It's not about what it's made out of. It's about the fact that it represents a vow that I swore, and I uphold that vow each and every day. I don't know what you think of all that. Expensive ones are great. Put your money where your mouth is. Show that full commitment. I totally understand that. But married 21 years, going on 22, I'd say it's going pretty well. Verse 18, the sons of Noah who came out of the ark. I don't remember if I read verse 17, so let's read it to make sure we cover every single word of the Bible in our endeavor here to study the Bible together. Verse 17, so God said to Noah, this is a sign of the covenant I have established between me and all of life on earth. I think I read it. I don't know. Someone tell me in the comments, did I read verse 17 twice? If so, that's okay. Verse 18, the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the 3 sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth. Verse 20, Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. I'm reading slow for dramatic effect because this is where he makes catastrophic mistake. When the world changes, there will be challenges. When your world changes, there will be challenges. Sometimes our world changes and we go to things we shouldn't. We say things we shouldn't. We make decisions we should not make. The world has changed, and that's brought us new challenges. And we know that the flood came and changed the entire surface of the earth. Let's continue reading about this mistake. Verse 21. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk, and he laid uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked, and told his 2 brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. They walked in backwards and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah woke up from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, and we'll cover that in just a moment, but let's look at this. The world changed and it brought new challenges. Now, on its surface, at face value, it looks like Noah came off the ark, planted a vineyard. Sometime later, just stressed out, everything's different, he decided to get drunk. But what's important to notice is that the whole earth was aging faster after this. Ages were plummeting. People lived a lot shorter lives after the flood. Before the flood, people were living 900 years or so. After the flood, we see it dwindle quickly down to about 120 years like we live now. In other words, the aging process of the earth sped up dramatically. We sped up at a rate of about 10 times faster, 9 to 10 times faster. So many who study the Bible, who study it carefully, note that not only are human beings aging faster, but the earth is aging faster. The wine is aging faster. The fermentation process had sped up. Everything had changed, and that brought new challenges. And many who study the life of Noah, they look at the consistency of his life, building that ark for 120 years, incredible faithfulness, a preacher of righteousness in a wicked and perverse world. He stood out and preached the righteousness of God. He raised his family. He was faithful on the ark. Why would he come out and sometime later, because some time had passed, he had planted a vineyard, would he just go out and get slam drunk? Not slam dunk, that's very different. Slam, slap, drunk. Well, some hypothesize that that fermentation process hit a lot harder and a lot faster after the flood. And I actually believe that to be the case. Let me know what you think. Did Noah just give in and totally get drunk of his own choice? Did he choose to do this based on everything changing, the stress he was under, the new world he was in? Or was this more the result of a new fermentation, a new changing earth, a new changing aging system assigned to the earth after this flood changed everything about humanity, about life, about the earth? I believe the latter. I believe that this was done not necessarily intentionally, but he planted his first vineyard, he made some of his wine, and it hit him harder than it did before the flood. Nonetheless, it was a mistake. It left him exposed. It put his family in a difficult situation, and that's what substance abuse does. That's what drunkenness does. That's what drug use does. And we see different responses to Noah's drunkenness. Ham, the father of Canaan, went out and mocked him. That's what the implication is there. He went out gossiping, talking about it, maybe laughing or offended, but he went out. He was not a part of the solution. He went out and put his father down. He put his father to shame. But Ham and Japheth, they still showed respect for their father, even though his father had made this mistake and was exposed, and this was very shameful, more shameful than it is in our culture. And they went in backwards and laid that garment across his shoulders, and they still tried to honor him to the best of their ability. So how do we respond when people make mistakes, when people do shameful things? Do we do the right thing and try to help them through their shame, try to cover them and bring them some dignity? Or do we gossip? Do we laugh? Do we mock? Do we put them down behind their back? So that's important to note, how we respond. But what's also important to note is how God responded. How did God respond to Noah, to his failure, to his drunkenness? Did he rescind his covenant? Did he say, well, I'm taking back this offer that I had given you? Is he taking back the blessings that he had poured out on Noah and Noah's family? No, he was gracious. It's important to note that when our world changes and we face new challenges and we make new mistakes, the grace of God is still there. His covenant still stands. We've looked at John chapter 8, the story of the woman caught in adultery in the very act, and they brought stones to stone her. And Jesus wrote in the ground, and one by one, from eldest to youngest, they dropped their stones and walked their way, because Jesus said, whoever's without sin, throw that first stone. Then he said to her, where are those who have accused you? She said, they're not here. He said, neither do I condemn you. Go your way and sin no more. This was great. It was Jesus dealing with her past in an honest way, and Jesus setting her free and giving her a new opportunity in the future. And that's the heart of God, the grace of God, to say, look, let's acknowledge what's in your past, but let's move on and give you a brighter future, one that is not revolving around a life of sin. We also see in this scenario with Noah, others looking out for Noah. We should have others looking out for us. Out of the three, two of them were looking out for him. You're going to have a lot of people in your life. Some of them we know darn well are not looking out for us, yet they have to be a part of our lives for one reason or another. Whether we're linked together as family, whether we're in the same neighborhood, same community, we work together, there are some who just are not looking out for you, some who will shame you at first opportunity. But a ratio of 2 to 1 is good to look for. Let's have a ratio of 2 to 1. Let's build those important relationships. And what that might mean is you go out to coffee when you feel a little shy and you don't want to go to coffee. But it's important that we build opportunities with people who will be looking out for us. We have to build those relationships. It might mean you start going to church again, where in the 1980s someone hurt your feelings in church, so you stopped going. It might be time to start going again and building relationships with people who will be looking out for you, and you can look out for them. That's sort of how this all works. Noah had the grace of God, and he had others looking out for him. And it's important that we are cultivating both. We're stirring up the grace of God in our lives. We're building that relationship with God each and every day, and we should be building cultivating healthy relationships with people in our lives. There's always going to be those toxic ones. Let's make sure we're building the healthy ones as well. And we see this in the lives of Noah and his sons. So when your world changes and you're facing new challenges, lean back on the grace of God. Realize his hand is still at work. He does not condemn you. He points you to a new future. And let's have others looking out for us in our lives. And if you right now say, I don't have many, I don't have any. Well, you're a good person. God made you that way. Go out and start meeting people. Go out and start talking to people. Get involved in some volunteering. Get involved in your church. Go do something somewhere for someone. And as you serve, you'll start building those relationships. And you can look out for them, and they can look out for you. Well, we got a little bit more reading to do. Verse 24, when Noah woke up from his wine, found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves. He will be to his brothers." He also said, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend Japheth's territory, and may Japheth live in the tents of Shem. And may Canaan be the slave of Japheth." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. He lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. And these are the prophetic words spoken from Noah over his sons. And it may seem somewhat harsh over Ham and Canaan, but behaving shamefully does have consequences. It does. When we shame others and we condemn others, what that leads to is a future of shame for ourselves. But when we live to honor God and honor others, there are blessings ahead. A lot here we've studied in Genesis chapter 9. When your world changes, there will be new challenges. Lean on the grace of God and build relationships with others who will look out for you. Thank you for sharing this time with me today. If you got something out of this, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Send this to a friend. Consider posting it on your social media. And before you go, let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 how you're doing. 0 being absolutely miserable, 10 being I'm on top of the world. And some good news is we will do this all again tomorrow.